Okay, right here is a 1970 Wabco Haulpak 75B off-road truck. In 1953, the Westinghouse Air and Brake Company, more commonly known as Wabco, purchased the earth-moving equipment line of R.G. Letourneau, forming the new company Letourneau Westinghouse, which would operate as a subsidiary of Wabco. Starting in 1962, Westinghouse began to replace the Letourneau Westinghouse name on all of its construction equipment with the Wabco name and logo. Finally, in 1967, the company name Letourneau Westinghouse was changed to Wabco Construction Equipment Division. The Model 75A was introduced in 1961, with the upgraded 75B model, which is what you are looking at right here, following in mid-1967. Now, let's go and take a closer look at this truck. Two different diesel engine configurations were offered for the 75B, depending on what the customer preferred. These included a Detroit 16V71NT, two-stroke V16 diesel engine, or a Cummins VT12-700, four-stroke V12 diesel engine, both rated at developing 665 flywheel horsepower at 2100 RPM, with the Cummins producing 1920 foot-pounds of torque at 1550 RPM, and the Detroit producing 1910 foot-pounds of torque at 1400 RPM. These two engine options would later be replaced with a newer Detroit 16V71T and a Cummins VTA 1710C, which you can see looking right under the hood here. Both of the newer engine options for this truck had the exact same horsepower and torque ratings as the older engine configurations. Here you can get a good view of the main frame, and here you can see one of the tie rods, which will turn the front tires left or right. The 75B featured Wabco's patented Hydrair II Suspension system, which was first introduced in 1956. This design eliminated leaf and coil springs and provided a better ride for the operator by utilizing a combination of air-over hydraulic oil in all four suspension struts with integral rebound control. To help give you an idea of the size of a 75B, this truck measures 13 feet 6 inches tall from the ground to the top of the canopy over the operator's cab, and 15 feet 11 inches wide. Mounted on each side of this truck are two 120-gallon diesel fuel tanks, and these are what supply the engine with fuel. From underneath here you can see the brush guard, which protects the transmission, which you can see right up there. The 75B utilized an Allison DP8860 with a Torquematic brake torque converter. Later on, a newer Allison DP8961 Torquematic transmission was offered for this truck. Okay, now let's go up inside and check out the operator's cab. Here you can get a good view of the operator's cab, which measures 52 inches wide and features a 15-degree tilted front windshield. Okay, let's take a look at what some of these controls do. All of the gauges that you see directly out in front of the operator's seat on the front control panel monitor this entire truck when it's in operation. The gauges are as follows: amps, engine oil pressure, water temperature, speedometer, tachometer, air pressure, transmission pressure, and the transmission temperature gauge. This gauge that you see up here alerts the operator when to either upshift or downshift the truck depending on the engine speed. You can see other switches to control other various functions on the truck, such as the ignition key, engine start switch. Right here is the parking brake switch. Over here you can see the wheel brake lock switch. And off to the right side, this hand lever that you see is the gear shift for the transmission. This is in the neutral position right here. There are 6 forward speeds and 1 reverse speed on the 75B. And off to the right side, you can see the trainer seat. And from here you can get a crystal clear view of what the operator would see if he were driving the 75B. This hand lever that you see down here on the left side by the operator's seat controls the dump box. This hand lever will raise, float, hold, or lower the box. Mounted directly behind the operator's cab is the hydraulic oil reservoir tank, which you can see right here, which holds 60 gallons of hydraulic oil. And from here you can get a good view looking down at the powertrain on this truck. You can see the transmission, torque converter, and the single gear type hydraulic pump, which develops 71 GPM at 2100 RPM to raise and lower the dump box. Here you can see the air tank, and here you can see the 2 engine lube filters. On the right side, here you can see the set of air intake and air cleaners for the engine. And behind the cover over the engine, you can see the vent to allow air circulation down into the engine when it's running to help keep it cool. Let's take a walk around to the back of the truck. The 75B was designed to hold 75 tons of material on its back. The 75B featured an automatic friction-type no-slip differential, which automatically transfers up to 3 times its tractive effort when one wheel begins to spin. And here you can see the 2 rear suspension struts. And if you look right here, on the front of the strut, you can see the original plate that says Wabco Hydrair II Suspension. And the overall empty operating weight of a 75B is 45.7 tons. The 75B was also offered in tractor configuration for pulling a 120-ton bottom dump trailer for hauling coal. In 1981, Wabco upgraded the 75B to the new 75C model, which featured a newly designed and larger operator's cab, a repositioned air cleaning system, and a power increase to 679 horsepower from the same engine configurations as on the former 75B. Later on, in 1984, Wabco became a division of Dresser Industries, and soon after, the Wabco name would vanish off the trucks, leaving only their trademark name, Haulpak. The 75C was later discontinued in 1986. But there she is, a 1970 Wabco Haulpak 75B.